business roundtable that we had live and in person in November 2019. So it's a nice memory that I kept in my my office, because I still remember very vividly our engaged discussion during the event, but also after that. And it's a pleasure to see you all, at least digitally, on such an occasion once again. But it also gives me a very special pleasure to have our Emirati ambassador joining us this morning, which under normal circumstances might not have been that easy. Therefore, digitalization also has its perks. We are very curious to hear today from the very combined Sharjah-based institutional expertise and firepower what you have been working on recently, what you are planning to work on, and how German companies can engage in these endeavors and how they can support your efforts. We also have one, let's call it Lighthouse, German investor being part of the panel later on, the famous German family-owned company Schüco. Very pleased to see you again, Ahmad. But first of all, I would like to invite our Emirati ambassador, Excellency Hafsa Al-Ulama, for her words of welcome.
Thank you very much, Oliver. You want me to start? Okay, thank you. Thank you. First of all, dear Excellencies and dear participants, I would like to start by wishing everyone all the best of health and also to wish everyone all the best and all the success for this new year that is ahead of us. It's a special year for us, of course, in United Arab Emirates. It's our 50th anniversary. It's where we are going to have our expo. And also in the next few days, we are going to reach Mars. So it's quite an exciting year for us to start. And I'm very happy that we are starting with this forum together. Of course, UAE and Germany have a very strong relation together in many aspects, but especially when it comes to the business side, I think we are very, very close and there is a strong partnership between us. We are the #1 partner for trade partner for Germany in the Arab world. We do a lot of business together. There are many businesses from Germany set up in all over UAE. But one point that I think is very interesting is that we have converging visions together also when it comes to business. Just last week, I think we read about Mubadala and Siemens working with on the hydrogen, which is quite an interesting area to be working on. Innovation, climate change, sustainability. These are areas that are very important for United Arab Emirates and for Germany. So that convergence of the vision for the future, I think it will be beneficial not only for our two countries, but even globally, it will be very important what we are going to do together. And I'm also very happy that we are talking about Sharjah. Really, Sharjah for us in United Arab Emirates has a special place. It is really the center of culture for us, center of heritage, but also Sharjah has unique position. As you know, it is on the two sides of the sea for United Arab Emirates, on the Arabian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. They have a very active economy and areas when it comes to tourism. For instance, lately we have seen amazing tourism initiatives that have happened in Sharjah. I cannot wait to come to UAE and go and visit, especially Khorfakan, wallahi, and it's amazing. We are all talking about it in Germany. Of course, when it comes to free zones, Sharjah has almost 30 or 33 free zones. So logistics, getting trade moving, innovation, agro-business, I think can be a very interesting area that I think for us, because when we were younger, always when we used to go to a date, for instance, a place in Sharjah which is very agricultural, I think there are so many opportunities that can come when we add innovation in that. So I'm looking forward to hearing more on this area. And also, I would like to, from our side, let's say from the embassy in Berlin, we would like to know how we can be of more support and help to Sharjah and to the business community, the German businesses, how we can build this partnership together. We would love to have exchange of visits. Of course, right now, maybe still it's not possible, but we can do virtually. As you know, in Germany, there are many clusters, and maybe that one area will be that we can do a focus meeting on those areas between opportunities in Sharjah and creating partnerships. So ways to build partnership is something that we are, we have this vision to do, and this mission for us at the embassy is to try and connect, let's say, companies from UAE to excellent companies that are here also in Germany. So I would like to really wish you all the best for all of us. And this is great that we are doing at this session. And Oliver, thank you also for always moderating and enabling all this communication and cooperation that is going on. Thanks to, of course, His Excellency Marwan Sarkal for his always being very positive and building on the businesses. We had very good discussions. And of course, Your Excellency Holger Manike also, thank you for being there and helping us connect together. There are so many areas that we can work together also between us. So thank you very much. I will not take more of this time and listen to you also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Hafsa Al-Ulama. You have already very nicely introduced our German Consul General, Excellency Holger Manike. Therefore, immediately I would like to invite him for his words of welcome.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Hafsa Al-Ulama, Ambassador of the UAE to Germany, Your Excellency Marwan bin Jassim Al-Sarkal, Chairman of the RUC, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. As I said at the beginning already, informally, I regret very much that we are unable to hold the meeting today in the House of Wisdom, a location which would have, without any doubt, inspired us and animated our discussions. I hope I will be able to visit this new institution in Sharjah in the near future. Ladies and gentlemen, from a German perspective, I think we have a problem. I have the impression that we tend to associate the Emirate of Sharjah first and foremost with cultural relations, not only because the German International School Sharjah is the cornerstone, is a cornerstone of Germany's presence in the UAE since the early days of this country. Indeed, also one of the most prestigious cooperation projects with Sharjah is the Sawa Museum Academy, a joint initiative of the Sharjah Museums Authority, the Staatliche Museum zu Berlin, and the Goethe-Institut Gulf region. This project adds an important element to our bilateral relations, even more as His Highness Mohammed bin Zayed and Chancellor Merkel decided in June 2019 to add the field of cultural relations to the strategic partnership between our two countries. No doubt, Sharjah is of utmost importance for our cultural relations, but we should escape this narrow view of associating Sharjah only with cultural affairs and look at its business potential. This is why this webinar is very timely. Allow me to use my brief welcome to throw in one idea, and that is the potential of the health sector. As you may know, there's a long-standing cooperation between the University of Sharjah and the Universität of Lübeck. And I would recommend our ambassador of the UAE in Berlin to visit Lübeck, which is a nice city, and of course the university, and to see what has happened in the relation between those two universities. They are training doctors, and there's an interest at the same time. Another recommendation to you between Mecklenburg-Vorpommern and the University of Sharjah in order to train nurses. There was an LOI signed last year. Unfortunately, COVID came about, so nothing has happened so far in the follow-up. But I talked to Schwerin, the capital of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, yesterday, and they are still working on that issue. And hopefully we can proceed and make more progress on this project in the next few months or so. And these initiatives may serve as a basis to go beyond the training of staff and develop cooperation clusters in the areas of healthcare and services, which might offer investment opportunities. There are certainly also many more areas which have a potential. And I would like to conclude by expressing my hope that the expo starting in October, and Oliver Oehms and myself, we went to see the German pavilion last week, and it's simply incredible, impressive, and I hope you all will be able to visit our pavilion as well after October. And we hope we may also trigger the interest of the delegations that hopefully will flood in to come also to Sharjah and explore the possibilities this emirate has to offer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Holger Manike. Thank you also for pinpointing Expo. Otherwise, I would have brought up the issue, not at least as we have been working also on some visit programs already last year. Sharjah is close to our hearts, but it's also close to our AHK, as Sharjah has always had a very active place in our board, and one of our most active board members is Excellency Marwan Al-Sakal, whom I would like to invite now for his words of welcome.
Thank you, Oliver. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. Good morning to everyone joining us. A special thanks to the team that have made this a reality of having a virtual webinar between Sharjah and Germany. I'm so honored to have Her Excellency Mrs. Hafsa Al-Ulama being here today, and His Excellency Mr. Holger being here today shows us the commitment from the governments to support strengthening the relationship between private sector and the public sector. We are so happy that the relationship between UAE and Germany is one of the highest, I would say, in the region, and this shows from the business that we're actually seeing between UAE and Germany. Just to talk more about how Sharjah has been in the past, I would say 5 decades, relationship with Germany was impressive. When we talk about Germany and Sharjah, we talk about Lufthansa having one of the biggest operations out of Germany being located in Sharjah, and this makes us so proud. Also, the other thing that Her Excellency mentioned about Sharjah's focus on education, focus on culture, on tourism, and if we go back to tourism, we would get to know that for the past decades, a lot of German tourists were actually choosing Sharjah as a place to visit. But Sharjah is more than just that. Sharjah is also looking at the future, looking at post-COVID drive of investments when it comes to innovation, mentioning health sector, focusing a lot on attracting the healthcare providers to the Emirate of Sharjah. Then, as mentioned, also agri-tech is something that we are focusing on. We would like to see how we can attract and support and energize this sector, which we believe is a huge sector that we can attract investment into. IoT is another sector that we are looking at, renewable energy, and seeing how Sharjah is developing its sustainability and getting to know how we can collaborate with the German private sector when it comes to that. And then moving towards smart cities and sustainable construction. And we've been seeing how the collaboration happening with a lot of events. One of the most important events is basically the concrete show that happens in Sharjah. That is actually a way of promoting the German technology when it comes to construction, but in a sustainable aspect. The other thing that Sharjah is well known for its startups. A lot of startups. Sharjah's economy is based on small and medium-sized businesses, and this is a gateway for a lot of the small and medium-sized companies in Germany to see Sharjah as a place to enter the region, but then expand within this region, creating innovative solutions, whether it's fintech, edtech, or digital media. And we can say that a startup like Genomi was one of the founders that in Sharjah can build on real economic and strength to develop a focused program to accelerate growth. What I would say is also in the past decade, we've seen new free zones that were created, whether it's the Sharjah Media Free Zone Shems, or whether it's the Sharjah Research and Technology Park, or whether it's the old free zones that are called Hamriya Free Zone, more of industrial, or the Sharjah Airport Free Zone, which is more service-oriented, connected to the airport. All of those free zones that were recently created, the main objective is how to make it easier for a foreign investor to come and invest. And they're focused on a sector. Each one is focused on a different sector. But the one that is actually that I'm so excited about is the Research and Technology and Innovation Park, which we have our dear friend here, Mr. Hussein Mahmoudi, he will be telling us more about it and how it is a gateway for German companies to come. We, in the past decade in Sharjah Investment and Development Authority, have created a lot of projects when it comes to sustainability, whether it's waste management, or it's about mobility, or it's about real estate, creating the Sharjah Sustainable City, or it's about developing unique boutique hotels in the middle of the desert or on the oceans. These are the things that we develop. In Shuruk, we are also open to create joint ventures with our German counterparts on creating a partnership between Sharjah and Germany through Shuruk portfolio. So it's great to have those virtual meetings. It opens up and it makes us think about how can we collaborate and work together. I'm so happy to see an esteemed panelist in this webinar, but also I'm so happy to see officials from the governments of the United Arab Emirates and Germany being here, and shows a lot of trust to this webinar. Thank you, Oliver, for AHK's support, for your special support. You've been one of the most important people in getting us together. We've seen also our colleagues working on the 4IR, which is something that will get closer, UAE and Germany, and creating different groups working on each on different levels, whether it's sustainability or oil and gas or technology. And this way we can get things closer. And just to end up my last comment, which His Excellency Holger mentioned about SAWA program, which I feel is a great program between Sharjah museums and in Germany. Actually, I can say proudly my wife has been in that program, and she was so excited about that program. Unfortunately, she couldn't travel last year to Berlin because of COVID, but I think this program created a very strong relationship between the participants that were from UAE and around the world and from Germany. So excellent programs that were created between the two governments, and I hope there are more to come. Thank you for the session, and we'll give you back the mic, Oliver. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Marwan, also for your kind words. I took a couple of notes, and I hope that we will have sufficient time to discuss this in the upcoming panel. It's important to meet digitally, but it's even more important to meet in person. And without predicting when this will be possible again, I think it's fair enough that maybe in a couple of weeks, but definitely in a couple of months, we will be able to receive the first inbound delegations again. So everything seems to be on track, at least here in the UAE. I just came back from Abu Dhabi and mentioned it earlier this morning. We had 3 days ago a physical business gathering here in Dubai with our members. And when I spoke to my members left and right, everyone got his shot already. The same is true for our dear president, AHK president, that I met yesterday. So it's very encouraging to see that we are getting ready here in the UAE to be good hosts for the many, hopefully, international travelers which are coming to see what's happening during Expo. Having said this, I'm looking forward to our discussion for the next 60 minutes or so. It's a panel featuring several very distinguished persons, and I sincerely hope that I will manage to let everyone submit his message, but at the same time also have an interactive and interesting discussion. At the same time, please, dear participants, please be invited to raise questions or comments in the chat function. I see that a very interesting topic just has been raised by somebody obviously joining from Berlin, and I will try my very best not to miss your comments and statements. I don't want to spend too much time on introducing each and everyone, but just by name, and I start from the chronological order, so to say, in which has been defined in the by the invitation. First of all, he has been mentioned already, Excellency Hussein Al-Mahmoudi, the CEO of Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park. Hussein, you might remember that we met in person, I remember at least in March, just a year ago, where we both didn't know what is this strange new virus thingy. We didn't have any masks. So we still were shaking hands. It's fair to say we did, yes, but knock on wood, we both stayed healthy, and until now we stayed healthy. It was a great experience, and I'm looking forward to hear from you what has been done in the meantime. Then we have Excellency Mohammed Juma Al Musharak, the CEO of the Sharjah FDI office, Invest in Sharjah, also a dear old friend of AHK. We have Excellency Dr. Abdulaziz Al Muhairi, the Director General of the Sharjah Health Authority. Excellency Manika already mentioned that this is a sector which is important for us, but also for the UAE. Very curious to hear from you what you are working on. We have our colleague from the Sharjah Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Abdulaziz Shataf, the Assistant Director General. Good morning to you, Abdulaziz. And last but not least, I mentioned already one of our German Mittelstand champions with a long investment record in Sharjah, Amar Alul, the Managing Director of Shuko Middle East. So where to start and how to start? I just start exactly in this order by addressing, first of all, Excellency Hussein Al-Mahmoudi. So I have raised one question already, Hussein. How did you utilize the last 12 months and what have you been able to do in the meantime?
Well, I can tell you many things. First of all, we moved to our mega unique headquarter building, which is a very unique, comprehensive technology and innovation establishment, which act as a complete ecosystem for innovation companies and for research and development. So this is a big development for us. We are very proud of our new headquarter, which today hosts more than 100 companies. So between the time that we met until today, we have 100 companies. I'm also very proud to report back that today the Sharjah Research and Technology Park hosts one of the largest transport and logistics innovation center in the world. In Sharjah, we are developing different type of new trains that we will be introducing to the market. This is a transformational project, as more than 300 million dirham investment in the park. We are also very proud talking about the fourth Industrial Revolution Center, that the park today also leading on establishing one of the biggest additive manufacturing R&D center in the park. Here in the park, we print 3 types of 3D materials. We print metal for oil and gas, we print plastic, and we print concrete. We are also establishing one of the largest R&D center for agriculture technologies. Last but not least, we have a strong footprint on artificial intelligence. And here I'm also very happy that one of the German company is leading on AI direction, a company by the name of AI Direction, Miss Angelica. What we've done with her over the past 3 months is that we basically survey 13 Sharjah government departments on their AI capabilities. And now we are addressing 3 main departments, Sharjah Police, Sharjah Finance, and Sharjah Airport with their AI capabilities. And this is done by a German company. This is just a quick update on what we are up to. Of course, since I've got already some comment on capital, we just continue to build our ecosystem. We've signed recently an MOU with the Emirates Development Bank that will provide capital to innovation, small and medium companies and enterprises. We're also, since the lady asked me about the women, we have a global Women in Technology conference that will take place in 2 weeks from now. This is the 2nd edition. And I think we have leading people from all over the world participating in this Women into Technology. So since we've met in March, I can tell you we have 4 major hubs been developed. We have more than 100 companies been recruited. We moved to our headquarters, and we have been launching global partnership and acceleration and R&D. And last but not least, I will end up with this. the Sharjah Research and Technology Park in the beginning was conceptualized by a German leading R&D institute, Fraunhofer. So we worked hand in hand with Fraunhofer in developing the master plan for this park, which I can claim today is the leading technology innovation park in the whole of the Arab world. And I think we would like to pitch to our German counterpart to use this, I would say, German started model as a platform to introduce their innovation into the Middle East. So I will stop with this invitation, and thank you very much for giving me the chance to do the intro. Thank you.
Thank you, Hussein. If I may add one short question, I was very much impressed how closely you are cooperating with the American University, which is kind of your neighbor, let's call it this way physically, but it's much more than that. So how's the university been dealing with this challenging COVID pandemic, and what does it mean for the cooperation between the technology park and the university and the faculties?
So technically, the Sharjah Research and Technology Park is owned by the American University of Sharjah. And the AUS, like any other universities around the world, is transforming into new form of education. So this is, we look at it as a great opportunity to really, since AUS were at the forefront of delivering world-class education to the Middle East, I think the AUS will be again at the forefront of delivering the new forms of education. And here I would like to pick up the invitation that was done by His Excellency, the Ambassador of Germany in UAE, that we would love to work with German education institutions, with German innovation institutions and R&D institutions to collaborate in bringing the new form of education and the new form of innovation into the UAE and the Middle East. I think there is a lot of opportunities there. And I think one of the things that we also pride ourselves here is we host the largest maker space probably in the region at the park. At the park, we have 3 floors equipped with machinery. And since Germany is known for their industrial innovation, I think this could be a platform for collaboration between smart manufacturing capabilities of German companies and also smart manufacturing capabilities of Sharjah. Sharjah used to host 40% of the industries in the UAE. And today we have 21 industrial zones in Sharjah. So there's a lot to be done on small and medium enterprises and other things. But again, that's something that we can always collaborate and work with.
Thank you very much for this addition, dear Hussein. I would like now to invite Excellency Mohammed Juma Al-Musharrak to briefly introduce Invest in Sharjah to us, but also here a very pragmatic intro from my side. These must be very challenging times for organizations like yours, which typically then would travel internationally, meet people in person, try to convince them to invest in the respective region. So how have you been dealing with this?
Thank you, Oliver. Allow me first to thank the AHK for co-organizing this event with us. Unfortunately, we could not do it physically. This was the plan. But fortunately, we were able actually to host some people from out of the UAE, especially Her Excellency, the Ambassador Hafsa. We are so happy. Plus, we have so many participants actually joining from Germany. As I can see in my dashboard now, we have more than 73 participants actually joining this meeting and would want to hear more about the collaboration between Sharjah and Germany and what Sharjah has to offer for German investors. As all of you know, 2020 was a challenging year for everyone. But I mean, for us here in Sharjah, we were able to get and attract an investments of around 800 million dirhams. I mean, this was definitely because of the support that we got from the government. There was a stimulus package of around 1 billion dirhams in terms of bank financing to different investors, especially investors here in the UAE. There was a reduction in so many fees when it comes to licensing and renewal of licensing of investors and all of this. For us as Sharjah FDI office, the main focus actually during the past, let's say, 9 months was to help the existing investors and do more of the aftercare services for our existing investors from all around the world. We were giving them the information about the stimulus packages that the UAE government have offered and Sharjah government have offered as well. For our international participants today, if you allow me to go one step back, Sharjah is the third largest emirate in the UAE. We are well known as the industrial, cultural, and educational capital of the UAE. We have one international airport, which is proudly the hub for cargo for Lufthansa in the region. We have more than 6 free zones, and happy to see 2 representatives of these free zones joining us today and letting us know more about the facilities that they provide to investors. We have 3 different seaports, 2 ports on the Arabian Gulf and 1 port on the Indian Ocean, and this gives us actually a competitive advantage when it comes to logistics and transportation. The focus in Sharjah in terms of investment attraction will be more on technology side. We have heard from His Excellency Mr. Hussein what Sharjah has to offer today in terms of facilitation for technology companies. We look forward actually to host a lot of the German technological companies. Germany today is one of the leading countries when it comes to technology. We have here in Sharjah around 346 German companies, by the way. 59 of these companies are registered in Sharjah Economic Development Department or onshore, and 287 companies are registered in our different free zones. Hopefully, when things will come back to normal, we can't wait to go back to Germany and do the road shows we used to do. Go to shows like Hannover Messe, for example, to meet with a lot of German companies.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for this introduction of Invest in Sharjah, but also your activities recently. You mentioned a very important point, aftercare. Retention is also a buzzword that has been used very often recently. This is also true for us, by the way, but I also hear it from the free zones here in Dubai as well as in Abu Dhabi, that there has been a very strong focus on taking care of the ones which are here already. But I definitely would also like to share with you our observation that starting from January this year, we see that interest in Germany when it comes to what's happening in the UAE has been rising remarkably, and definitely contributing to this has also been the excellent performance of the UAE when it comes to dealing with the pandemic, but also how, let's say, the whole system of the UAE economic and political system has been weathering the storm last year. And this also includes, obviously, the healthcare sector. Therefore, without further ado, I would like to invite Excellency Dr. Abdul Aziz Al Muhairi to share with us how the Sharjah Health Authority has been dealing with the situation, and where would you see areas for potential cooperation with German companies and institutions. Please don't forget to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Good morning. It is my pleasure to be a part of this roundtable, which is very important to UAE health sector for sure, and to talk with the senior and distinguished guests. As you may know, that the pandemic of COVID-19 has clearly demonstrated that no health system can stand alone, and every country has something to teach and something to learn from the way it's being managed. Um, the future of healthcare is more about prevention method rather than curing methods. With a wide acceptance of health digitalization, there will be a great opportunities for telemedicine in more and more countries across the world. As you may know, that the future of the healthcare is unquestionably about collaboration and collective care. Each one has to learn something from the other, and the collective togetherness of healthcare facilities, expertise, and governments will undoubtedly make the future bright. We are in Sharjah Health Care City, are trying to bring the best of all classes of healthcare from across the world to have a collective offering of healthcare to mankind. And we are inviting the German friends and investors to be a part of this collective collaboration in Sharjah especially, and in the United Arab Emirates in general. This is to offer the Sharjah Healthcare City as the most preferred destination for healthcare. We can offer 100% ownership for the investors, tax-free environment, and a single window service, and it will be one of its kind. The sectors that we are trying to attract is, as I said in the beginning, it is about the research and development centers in the medical field, biotechnology centers, laboratories, hospitals, and much more now about rehabilitation. We all know about the centers of rehabilitation in Germany, and many people are traveling to Germany just to have this kind of specialties. As you may know that the healthcare sector has been improved in the United Arab Emirates. The latest report shows that 10% growth it will be in the coming 2 to 4 years in this sector only. So it is a great opportunity for all the investors to be a part and invest in Sharjah. There will be a collaboration either from a private sector in the United Arab Emirates and with the private also sectors in the Germany. And we all will be happy to have such kind of collaboration, and this kind of forum. I think it is a great opportunity for all of us to share information, to promote the investing opportunities, and also to do something for the mankind. As you know, Mr. Oliver, you said at the beginning that the COVID-19 pandemic shows that the UAE has demonstrated a great success according to the statistic and WHO. This has not come alone. It is by collaboration with all related entities all around the world. We have a very big logistic area for storing vaccines, for having network transportation by Emirates Airline, Etihad Airline, and Air Arabia. And all international airlines has a place in the United Arab Emirates. Also here in Sharjah, the Sharjah Healthcare Cities offer a unique place. It is between the Dubai International Airport and Sharjah International Airport. This is our location, and we are trying now to finish the clinical building, the first building in the Sharjah Healthcare City, and it is one of its kind. I hope next year, if we have meetings, we'll host you there. It has a clinical building, medical offices, representative offices, and Sharjah Health Authority and Sharjah Healthcare City as investment arm of Sharjah Health Authority. I wish all the best for the investors, for the delegate, for all people who are hearing me talking to them, and also to share some information about Sharjah Healthcare City. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Could you maybe briefly comment a little bit on your thoughts, ideas, and plans, maybe when it comes to biotech? The keyword has been mentioned in the chat function by Excellency Hafsa. Therefore, I'm curious to hear from you what you are working on. It's maybe also inviting Hussein to briefly comment on it. Maybe some tenants or partners of the Research and Technology Park are active in this field already.
Sorry, I didn't get a question.
It's about the potential you see for biotech, developing biotech activities and companies in Sharjah.
I think biotech is a growing industry, and I think the real requirement to develop a biotech industry, I think, is available in Sharjah. First, you need dedicated talents and skills to be able to deal with the various elements of development of biotech, and we are lucky to have 22 universities around us, around SRTIP, with more than 2,000 people with PhDs and 47,000 students. So in terms of human capital, we are surrounded with the right people. The second thing we have is the laboratory. So these universities are equipped with cutting-edge labs that will allow companies to leverage and take advantage of these labs. So as you know, these equipment that are involved in biotech are expensive equipment. A normal startup or a small and medium company, they cannot access these sort of labs to start with. So that's something that we can also make available through our partnership with universities and with the various labs. Last, and the third thing is, of course, access to the right legislation and regulation. I'm also very happy to report back that we are in the process now to sign with both the Ministry of Economy and also the Ministry of Advanced Industries to establish a physical sandbox in the park, which will allow companies to come and try their technologies with the support of the federal government, with the support of the local government, and with the support with the whole ecosystem. So in terms of biotechnology or biolab, I think, this is an emerging industry, and I think it's a big opportunities. And this is where the UAE government wants to promote and wants to grow this industry.
Looking forward to see it in person, what's happening. Makes me really curious to come again.
You'll be surprised.
But turning to our next panelist, inviting my dear colleague from the Sharjah Chamber of Commerce and Industry. By the way, the event that we had last year together behind me, this was hosted in your beautiful premises. Of course, we are in close touch with our German chambers of commerce and industry back home in Germany. They have been busier than ever, I would say, in the last 30 or 40 years, because they have been very heavily involved in government-funded support schemes. So you might think the chamber colleagues have been working from home and enjoying an easy life, but no, just the opposite is true. So how has the chamber in Sharjah been dealing with the situation?
Well, that is the same as Germany. Actually, people are working from home. So I think the same thing around the world. But anyhow, Oliver, I would like to highlight some numbers. Since Ambassador Hafsa has mentioned that the UAE is the biggest business partner with Germany. Now, we can see that the bilateral trade between UAE and Germany reached 2018 nearly $14 billion, where 12 billion has been exported from Germany to the UAE, and nearly $2 billion has been exported to Germany. And this shows the economic ties between the two countries. We've shown in the past decade it's increased nearly 35%. So that shows that this strong ties has been determined because of the infrastructure of the UAE. And that's not the only thing. Now, even though from the two pillars we can see that there's a lot of free exports from the UAE to Germany, and also we export the German products to the regional markets. They're using and utilizing the UAE to be their business, as a business partner, to be a distributing hub for the nearby countries. Of course, at the Sharjah Chamber, we do facilitate, as you mentioned, we've hosted a lot of webinars, seminars, and also delegations, which has reached the last year around 60 delegation from different and various countries. And of course, you've been one of them last year, Oliver. So what we basically do, we find the counterparties and potential buyers or potential businesses that could happen. We mainly provide the intelligence of our local companies, what is their profile, their capacity, and what sector they would desire to invest in, or even though if a German company is looking for distributors in the Emirate of Sharjah, even though the UAE, we can provide with those information, or who could be the best distributor for such a products. And this is maybe one of the significant services which the Sharjah Chamber provides.
Very good. Looking forward to be back to your premises again very soon. And again, I can guarantee that we will bring some expo delegations, not at least to Sharjah, but I also made some promises to bring people to Ras Al Khaimah. So this will be an interesting journey for the ones starting in Dubai on the expo ground. Last but definitely not least, I would like to invite our very loyal and long-standing HK member, Shuko Amar, to briefly share with us how have you been dealing with this challenging time, and what did it mean for your setup in Sharjah?
Thank you. You can hear me okay? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you again, Your Excellencies, Oliver, ladies and gentlemen, for this opportunity. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be part of this group, part of this event. Definitely, it pains me that we're not together face to face, as Dr. Abdelaziz and I was really looking forward to having this face to face at Dar al Hikmah, Bayt al Hikmah, House of Wisdom, for historical ancient reasons, as well as for what this stands for today. But of course, I think this is the right decision given the circumstances. And allow me to start that also myself, my colleagues, my family, we're really proud to be in the UAE, because when we look around, whether in Europe, in the States, in other parts of the Arab world, how COVID has impacted life, we really live in an amazing location, honestly speaking, in that what is being taken, you don't feel that this is controlling your life to a degree that completely paralyzes you. Yet I think the efforts are being taken to safeguard all of us, and this is really being felt by all expats, I would say, living in the UAE and appreciating life here. To start with your question, Oliver, is we during 2020 we had it was a perfect storm of sorts, which I think I keep remembering the expression of the head of mission control during Apollo 13, which was made famous by a movie, of course, is that it was a successful failure, and that the mission did not achieve its objective of landing on the moon, yet they were successful in bringing all the astronauts back to Earth with great ingenuity, with innovation, with hard work. And I would say for Shuko, 2020 was not too different in the sense, obviously, no one was talking about budgets that were set in October, November of 2019, when it was, might as well have been before Hijrah, you know, might as well have been BC, you know, as far as we're concerned today. So basically, targets, dreams, budgets out the window. But it was a success for Shuko in the sense that I didn't run to daddy in Bielefeld, Germany, asking for loans, for money. I didn't go to the banks. Financially, we are doing very well globally as Shuko, thank God, and Shuko Middle East. So financially, we're doing really well, alhamdulillah, thank God. We maintained our business, which was a great success, because I think the construction industry specifically, but so many other industries have suffered in 2020. Obviously, the hospitality industry, airline industry, needless to say. So construction industry also suffered tremendously in 2020. But for us as Shuko, if anything, we increased our market share, which was great. In fact, we used 2020 to invest. We moved facilities. We are currently proud to say that we are the largest investor in the Sharjah Airport International Safe Zone. So we have our warehousing operations for the Middle East based there. We moved to offices in Dafza, Dubai Airport Free Zone, where I'm sitting right now. So we recruited, actually, I think in many cases, different people were looking at me strangely. Are you crazy? Are you nuts? Are you actually recruiting and investing when you should be basically hunkering down? And but we, as Shuko Middle East, as Shuko globally, look at the region in with a very strategic eye. And yes, we are lucky in that we are financially strong to be able to invest during these difficult times. And I think that is serving us well. So we did expand, we did recruit, we were successful enough to fund ourselves, as I mentioned earlier. Of course, we went into home office. Luckily, the government policies allowed our warehousing operations to continue, because as a traditional brick and mortar company, if you will, unlike IT companies where you just click buttons and sell, we needed to move physical goods from point A to point B. So I think Sharjah gave us the backbone and the infrastructure to continue to be able to do that. So we took a full advantage of that. As far as staff, we worked from home, of course, video conferencing. And I think it was already mentioned, if anything, we worked harder. The fine line between home or your personal life and your work life, if there ever was a line for many functions, myself included, I think that line was obliterated in 2020. I don't think I took a day off. Of course, our weekend here is Friday, Saturday. In Germany, it's Saturday, Sunday. So sometimes I'm communicating with Germany on Friday, and many of my customers work on Saturday as well. So that's good in the sense that we were able, in that we love what we do, and we are able to move forward and stay in business under difficult circumstances. So home office was really actually good for us, although I don't think I'm old-fashioned when I say nothing beats face-to-face meetings. I think in general, you find that video conferences and phone calls, you find them very focused, as they should be, and you have an agenda and you go through it. Whereas when you meet face-to-face, you find yourselves, not just the personal chemistry, which basically oils the dealings, and I've lived and worked in the States, Europe, Japan, and the Middle East, and I think this is global. So this, I think, was a bit of a challenge. But in general, It was very good for us in the sense that we made the best of it. And the atmosphere in Sharjah, specifically in the UAE in general, because we moved to our DAFZA offices in December. So in general, the atmosphere, the infrastructure, the facilitation, and the great team that I have, and I'm proud to say I have a great team, all in all, made 2020 a very successful, challenging year. I don't want to use the word failure from Apollo 13, but in that we thrived, we succeeded, we increased our market share. So that's basically how we dealt. To answer your question, and Oliver, by now, I think you should be wiser than to ask me, to give me a little bit of an open-ended question, because you know I'm going to go on. So sorry, too long to answer that question.
No, thank you very much. This was very interesting. And I think this kind of retrospective on 2020 is shared by many of our member companies. Yes, it was a successful failure. Everything turned out to be very different from what was initially planned for. And this is also true for AHK, by the way, not at least due to the postponement of Expo. But somehow we all managed to weather the storm, to get out of it more or less, I wouldn't say better than before, but we learned a lot. And by the way, I just remembered when the airport in Dubai opened on the 7th of July, I guess, last year. In the first plane was one of my sons to visit us, and in the second plane was a member of your global management. I remember that because I told him, I give you a call once my son is landed, and then you can come as well. So this again underlines the commitment of Shuko and your setup here in the region. But let me ask you another question. You briefly mentioned the region, and of course I know that you have been serving the region, which has been growing and growing in the past as well. So what does it mean for the UAE as a hub for serving the region? I mentioned already, I felt that the hub has turned out to be quite resilient, but I don't want to talk too much because I want to hear from you if you would share this observation.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is critical. Ultimately, international companies in general, allow me to state the obvious. We, as international companies, German and otherwise, come to the region for one key reason: growth. I think all sectors, or most, I don't want to talk for everyone, certainly in our company, the Middle East contributes a small percentage to our global operation in terms of turnover, in terms of profitability. I think the same is true for many companies. However, the key is growth and potential. So when companies set up in the region, and of course, Shuko Middle East is responsible for 12 countries in Southwest Asia, I should say. We go as far as Pakistan. We have the Arabian Peninsula with what was known as the Fertile Crescent: Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, the Arabian Peninsula, and Pakistan. That's my region out of this headquarters. So we are here for growth, for potential, and for basically great location and great business opportunities, as I mentioned. The UAE, for most, the vast majority, I would say, of international companies, is the natural location for several reasons. One, I would say, and I think this goes for both, specifically here for both Sharjah and Dubai, specifically, the UAE in general and Dubai, Sharjah specifically. The efficiency of government makes it extremely interesting, because we certainly know that the UAE is not the cheapest place to operate from. There are less expensive locations in the region, in the nearby region, actually, without going further away in the Arab world or elsewhere. So, but the ease of doing business, the government attitude, the attitude of, and I've dealt with the gentleman on this call, of course, that is critical. The efficiency is critical. The talent pool is critical. The lifestyle is critical. We all know that in certain sectors, a nearby country is a much bigger market, yet most companies choose to set up here and serve other markets by traveling and coming back. So these are critical aspects that invite international companies like Shuko to work from here. In addition to that, of course, the infrastructure and movement in and out of the country, as well as making our life easier to bring people and goods and repatriate funds. So this picture, just like any piece of art or work or a great book, is made up of multiple great components that together make the UAE in general and Dubai Sharjah specifically very interesting. And I can speak Dubai Sharjah because I have a huge operation in Sharjah and I have a big presence in Dubai. So we are equally basically proud of both aspects. So, and I think in the vast majority of what I said applies to almost all international companies. When we say we need to be in the UAE in Dubai Sharjah.
Thank you very much, Amma. That's something I can underline from my side. As most of you know, I have been working and living in a neighboring country for a couple of years in the same function. And if people ask me what's the main difference, it's very easy for me. It's the availability of very skilled, talented, and very loyal people. You have beautiful people all over the region, but the potential to attract and retain talent internationally here of the UAE, this is unbeatable, I would say. And this also makes me very confident that UAE will stay in the pole position for many more years to come. So this invites me again to invite, or actually convinces me to invite Excellency Mohammed from Invest in Sharjah again. Is this something you are looking into as well? Retaining talent, also attracting talent, of course, but also retaining talent. Is this part of your agenda, of your priorities?
Yes, definitely. I mean, this is something that we are working on together with the Ministry of Economy. Currently, they have this with the new cabinet and appointing 3 different ministers. His Excellency Dr. Thani Ziyoudi's mandate is to attract the innovators, to attract talents from all around the world. The legislation that we have seen currently with giving the golden visa for talents, for innovators, for investors. And 2 days ago, we also heard about the new residency law where it allows, I mean, foreigners to have UAE passport, and especially for innovators, artists, and investors within a certain criteria. Having like the innovation park, the universities, definitely all the universities around the research and technology park is also something that will definitely attract more and more talents and will be actually pulling a lot of innovators to Sharjah.
Can I add something to Mohammed? I think
I was about to ask you, Hussein. I was about to ask you.
So this is really amazing development with the new policies, but I will focus on a specific thing. Part of these policies also allowing students to come into UAE and have residency and bring their families. And also there are programs developed for interns. So an intern from Germany a student can come and spend time here. And this is each entities will develop this. And I think Sharjah has an amazing opportunity because of the, again, amount of the universities we have, and because of the facilities of the technology park, the House of Wisdom, and other things surrounded this area. I think this is a big opportunity for for human resource or companies who are engaged with developing talents and developing programs to start taking advantage. A lot of, I would say, German students and German universities do teach Middle Eastern activities, but I think, I think we tend sometimes to sell short ourselves, and especially in the UAE. I think we have a lot to offer to the German students to learn from the experience of what's going on here in the UAE. And I think that's a fantastic opportunity for us to leverage and develop. Maybe I like, again, I go back to His Excellency, the ambassador note about education, to develop strong programs to bring German entrants here and also take UAE entrants into Germany through activating the private sector, the Siemens, the automotive industry. We have a full solution here to enable those sorts of things. Thank you.
Maybe if I can add
Sure.
to His Excellency Hussein Mahmoud and His Excellency Muhammad, is in the past 5 decades, many things have been developed in the UAE. But one of the most important things is granting UAE citizenship, which was just recently established by the Prime Minister. And this is a huge milestone in the change of attracting investments and also securing investment. The other thing that has happened in the end of 2020 was giving the right of 100% ownership for companies to be owned. So the 5149 that used to be the formula that used to stop several companies from thinking of coming here is no longer there. So you have a foreign investor can actually own 100%. The other thing that created a security is also for retired people. The UAE became now a haven for them, and this is something that we can think about how the change in the government. The government of the UAE is a very dynamic government that actually listens and reacts to those things. And what we see is that the trust for foreign investments has been gaining day by day, week by week, month by month, and year by year. And we see companies coming to the UAE not to just profit out of it. They come here to develop themselves, to grow, and to become the hub to serve the whole region. And this is what makes the UAE a unique place for foreign investments to come. With today's Ministry of Economy having a minister handling FDI, I think this shows a lot. And this means a lot to us. With more collaboration and more meetings, we get to know how we can face those challenges. And I think an entity like the AHK was created also to serve the German investors and the Emirati investors to co-invest, whether it's investing in Emiratis investing in Germany or Germans investing in the United Arab Emirates. And I think such seminars like those just opens up to get everyone to know what are the opportunities that are available and what are the challenges that we can actually take to the ministry level to overcome.
Thank you very much, Marwan, for this important addition. I cannot repeat it often enough. The UAE is it's in a very important pillar of the globalization strategies of many, if not most German companies. And this nowadays also includes the whole continent of Africa. So countless of our members are covering Africa from the UAE, and they do so for many good reasons. I have one question that really went through my head. It's something that in Germany we have been struggling with for many years. It is the transition of young graduates from university to the private sector. We don't have a merry-go-round system in Germany. It's something that keeps on being reinvented over and over again. What experiences have you made in Sharjah, not at least as with AUS, we have such a gigantic university? Are they immediately absorbed by the private sector, or are there any kind of events, fora, where also German companies could look for young recruits or graduates? Is there a role for the chamber, for instance? Abdulaziz, are you active in this?
Is this question for me or you can go, Abdulaziz, and I can comment if needed.
Sorry for that. Marta, it's like a complicated question. I don't know how to lie about that, but it's been, I'll say, a couple of initiatives where we're looking for the business, for the students to engage in the business sector from the beginning, rather than waiting, and that's where we've the chamber have started what we call the 101 incubator for the businesses. So the students can start with they start their startups with a small help that would encourage them to go into the market. Maybe this is on a small scale. I see Hussein Mahmoudi can elaborate more on what they have did on this. Especially they have Shawar.
Excellency Hussein.
We had again, it's a German company. We had a very successful example. So with AI direction, we had a new product developing a new algorithm with agriculture technology and aquaponics. And for that, they hired 2 interns from the university who did this AI project. And I think this is a fantastic example of how we work. So the park is a facilitator between the academia and between the companies. And we come with these creative industry projects that is actually market driven. So we have an example there, and we are at the moment in the process because the Germans are very good in those vocational training, dual vocational training, which we looked at it long time ago. And that's something we are trying now to implement here as well, because we have in the park, when you visit, you will see 3 floors fully equipped with electronics labs, textile lab, metal lab. We will probably have the largest 3D metal lab in the whole Middle East, second to the one in Turkey, certified by GE. So we collaborate also with the Dells and the Intel and the GE and other in developing these programs. And I think with your chamber, Oliver, we can work with you in developing a program between the universities and the industries, especially focused on Germany. I think that's something we can work with you. And I think a lot of students are very keen. At the moment, I have 15 interns in the park working with us. And we developed a strategy to take advantage of those students because they have a lot of brains. And I think this is in line with the federal government as well. And I go back to the intern questions that you asked, bringing even the students from outside and run them through this program.
I think if you allow me, Oliver, to add on what Mr. Abdulaziz have said. I mean, here in Sharjah, I think we started actually to elevate the startup ecosystem and to engage students more in the startup ecosystem and in the entrepreneurship ecosystem by having the Shara, which is the Sharjah Center for Entrepreneurship at the university, the American University of Sharjah, and then they expanded to Sharjah University actually. And I think they are doing a lot for encouraging students to go to the private sector by doing a lot of seminar, coaching programs for them to encourage them to go to the private sector more and more. And then we have also another entity within the Emirate of Sharjah, which is called Rawad Sharjah Establishment for Young Entrepreneurs, where they fund entrepreneurs to encourage them to start their own businesses from there. And I think there are also different programs in collaboration with Sharjah Research and Technology Park, with the Sharjah Media City or Sharjah Media Free Zone, the other free zones that we also have. There are some packages for young entrepreneurs to start their own companies in these free zones easily, I would say.
Yeah, this sounds like an invitation. And of course, I'm pleased to accept the invitation to come with a group of German business people, AHK members, to explore
Definitely
what the educational facilities, educational sector has to offer. Last but not least, I would like to return to the healthcare topic again and to invite Excellency Dr. Abdulaziz Al-Muheri again, but connecting it to the topic of education. Healthcare professionals are a rare breed globally these days. Also in Germany, we are starting even to internationally hunt for young qualified talent. how are you making sure that you have the right people in your Sharjah-based healthcare system in the organizations? And is there maybe a potential for partnering with German organizations? And then I would maybe also like to invite Excellency Hafsa Al-Ulama to briefly comment on this.
Yes. In this regard, as you may know, that we have a campus for the universities. We have the Sharjah University, and we have the American University, we have the higher technology, and we have also the legal institution and Al-Ufuq University and Al-Qasimiyya University, all of this within one campus, which is near to the University of Sharjah. As a vice chairman of the University Hospital of Sharjah, I can assure you that we have a very solid relationship with our partner in Germany. We are holding every year an Emirati German Congress, which is with the collaboration with Lübeck University and Hamburg, BJ Hamburg. And we have also students who are from the medical college studying in a summer courses or in a special training in Lübeck universities. And the same thing also doctors from Lübeck, they are coming to the University of Sharjah Medical College and also to the University Hospital of Sharjah. This is a part of the cooperation. But if you go inside the hospital, you can see that the main equipment are from Germany. The main pharmaceutical are from Germany. And also the expertise, the doctors who are working with us, either they have been trained in Germany or they have graduated or they done some kind of specialty in Germany, because it is one of the best medical practice all over the world. I can show you one of the Congress. This is from the annual meetings. Maybe it is not show. This is with the University of Sharjah, and also this is from the Hamburg. We have some collaboration and working together, and in the future, for sure, they will be expanding in the research and transferring knowledge, and also in establishing investment in Sharjah healthcare cities. So this is what we can talk about the healthcare field at the moment. But the door is open. We can expand all kind of collaboration, as you said, and we all also agree with me that the healthcare, it is only for a certain people or a certain country. It is for all mankind. And this is the situation that shows that what we have it in UAE, we can share it to the others. And the others, what they have it, they can contribute it to the all of the world. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, fully agree. This is definitely another lesson learned by the current pandemic, that having national islands of healthcare and service providers, this is not the future. And it's also something that we in Germany culturally need to understand, that we cannot expect the nurses coming from the Philippines or from Poland to be fluent in German, for instance, which is still an important aspect when it comes to healthcare. But talking about Hamburg, of course, I need to invite Excellency Hafsa, but also our Consul General Holger Maniko, who is coming from Hamburg, to briefly comment on where would you see opportunities for cooperation in the healthcare sector in terms of institution to institution, but also private sector to private sector.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you. I mean, really, for raising this this point, which I think is so important. First, I want to say that I'm very impressed with what I have learned today, actually, from all these amazing initiatives that are there in Sharjah. Really, it's really very, very impressive with your the research and technology part that you have, the focus on different areas, but also the biotechnology. I think it's a very important. Of course, last year we didn't get much time maybe to do many visits in Germany, but With the embassy, we did go to some of the Länder of the states, and we went to Saxony, Dresden, for instance, the technical university there. It's amazing when it comes to cancer treatment and other innovative areas. There are so many interesting places. In Hamburg, we had also a chance to visit. So there are many opportunities that I see of working together, the collaboration side. But one area that UAE actually has proven, I think, through fighting, if you will, and treating this coronavirus pandemic is about partnership. You know that we participated in the clinical trials for the Sinopharm, the Chinese vaccine, for instance. And it was amazing, the results that came out of it and how now it's being used and is going to go global, of course, also. One area that UAE always focuses on right now is to have partnerships. I remember maybe, before it was always investments only from UAE going abroad, investing in companies and, sending, but going forward, and especially when it comes to healthcare, I think partnership will be key to find out collaboration, cooperating together, having maybe companies from Germany with companies in UAE to work together on building, transnational, if you will, coordination together. That becomes very important. So in that area, I think it will be very good to have, programs that we can build on this and we can promote this. So for instance, having the Sharjah Technology Park, research and technology, promoting it with all these interesting clusters that you have in Germany, in different areas, in healthcare, in innovation and all. It will be very interesting to build that and try to find out how we can build companies that can form in both places, that they can do part of the innovation in Germany, but part in Sharjah, for instance, and come up with the IP that can be shared between these two together. And why not do that and compete globally in that area also? So there are many opportunities, and I think this has been a great way of getting this knowledge out. And our job is, of course, to facilitate this. And I'm really happy that I got to know about so many of these collaborations that are going on already on the educational side between Sharjah and Mecklenburg-Vorpommern and also Hamburg. But why not in other areas also? And I think there was a very big reception in Dresden and Saxony, for instance, eastern part of Germany. Again, another area that I see normally when I, in a short time that I'm there, is that we focus a lot on the western side of Germany, which is great, of course. But there is the eastern side of Germany that is very interesting, and there are so many opportunities. And I think that can be very interesting through maybe AHK. We can do more of promotion of that area also. So I leave it to Consul General to talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, actually, I'm extremely proud that Hamburg and Lübeck are already present to a certain extent in Sharjah, and I'm proud of the cooperation that has been established in training of doctors between those universities and Eppendorf, for instance. You may know that we have even a representative office inside AHK representing Hamburg, and they are always organizing northern event whenever the Arab Health take place, and hopefully we will be able to have this event again in June when we are going to have the next Arab Health in Dubai. I was carefully listening to the presentation of Dr. Abdulaziz and the presentation of the healthcare city, and I think it might be very useful to bring delegations to that city in order to explore the possibilities that Sharjah is offering in this field. And again, I come back to Mecklenburg-Vorpommern as well, because the Minister of Health in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is not only the Minister of Health, but also the one of Economy. And Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is interested in strengthening the ties between the federal state and Sharjah, not only through the development of the training of nurses, which is a rare breed for everybody. It's actually that we need to find collaboration in order not to compete. I think this is a fear we may have. But another idea would be to see what potential there might be in the healthcare city of Sharjah for companies from Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, but also from other federal states. Last year, we had more than 400 companies participating in the Arab Health from Germany only. So this is always a big event, considered very, very important. And I think we need to draw the attention of those companies to the opportunities Sharjah is offering. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency Holger Manike. This concludes very nicely, I have to say. Not much left for me to say. Our webinar, our digital business roundtable. I'm also grateful that you mentioned our colleague who has been working for and with Hamburg for many years already. Just tomorrow, I will have a call with Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. You mentioned the state already, Excellency Hafsa Al-Ulama. They are the first ones, so to say, waking up out of the lethargy of COVID, and they're getting ready to come to the UAE again on the occasion of Arab Health next year. So that's really excellent news, and I cannot praise enough the state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern in this regard. Having said this, I would very warmly thank first of all, our co-host, Invest in Sharjah, represented by Excellency Mohammed Juma Al-Musharak. Thank you, dear Mohammed. Of course, my gratitude also goes to our fellow and dear panelist, Excellency Hussein from the Sharjah Research Technology Innovation Park, my colleague Abdulaziz from the Sharjah Chamber, Excellency Dr. Abdulaziz from the Sharjah Health Authority, and I did not forget my dear board member Marwan Al-Sakal, who unfortunately had to leave us already, but I will give him a call afterwards. Excellent that you were with us today. Thank you for sharing what has been done in Sharjah and what we can expect in Sharjah. And I've mentioned several times that we will be back hopefully very soon with an AHK delegation, and then on the occasion of Expo, certainly also with some fresh faces. And this, last but not least, also leads me to thanking Ammar for being with us, sharing his experiences he has made throughout the last couple of months in Sharjah and in Dubai. Dear Ammar, thanks a lot for that. Saying thank you as well again to our two excellencies, Excellency Hafsa, thank you for joining us from Berlin. Stay safe in very cold Berlin, and hope to see you very soon in much more pleasant UAE. Thank you, and thanks to the participants for being with us. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you all.